And there's something I want to say that really keeps coming in my heart to say over and over again, Ed. And that is that I sense, Ed, when I write and when when I make videos, I can sense a lot of reactions. And one thing, Ed, that always strikes me is how humans have a wall when it comes to believing that someone is consciously targeting them. And Ed, I understand this because I had that wall decades of my life when things were happening so blatantly to me. It's just a very difficult wall to climb over. And yet, Ed, this wall is the key to understanding what's going on in your life. And Ed, there are a few people who were able to cross this wall in my knowing, and immediately they knew they had hit the truth because of how energy flowed. Because until a human crosses this wall that says, no, you're not being consciously targeted. If anything, maybe there is, a general demonic agenda against you, perhaps. But nobody is sitting and planning and plotting. No one has the records of your life. No one is devoting their time to targeting you. You're a nobody. Who the hell are you some kind of president or prime minister? Are you even your local representative or whatever? You're nothing. You're not even the owner of a rich business that someone wants to take down. You're not anybody important. So why would anyone want to target you? This, Ed, it is so critical for a human to understand that you are being consciously targeted. And Ed, am I dumb? Will I say such a thing, Ed, unless I know it 100%? I know this so well. That is why I'm saying it. Because, Ed, without this, there's no point of anything else I say. A human can do anything and they will not understand the energy working of their life, and they will not have full energy release until they understand they are being consciously targeted. Because only when you understand that there is a difference between someone's brain targeting you in this realm versus spiritual demonic stalking of you, until you understand the difference between these two kinds of harassment, brain planned harassment in this realm and spiritual force coming against you. Until you understand the difference between these two, you don't know how to deal with them. When I had not faced the fact that I was being consciously targeted, I believed that all the bondage I was going through, the depression, the sudden fatigue, I believed it was all spiritual. And I expended huge amounts of energy to no avail, trying to solve them, believing they were a spiritual, demonic attack on me. When they weren't spiritual, they weren't demonic. They were just plain stupid bastards and bitches of this realm who are so dumb that demons don't want to associate with them, really. Demons give them money and say, okay, let's see, show us what you can do. But the demons themselves don't even energize them anymore, Even demons don't want to have anything to do with them. Honestly, I'm telling you, this is the situation. For example, you're sitting at the computer, and let's Let's talk 1999, head 2000, 2001. Suddenly the mouse goes haywire. Suddenly, the lights start blinking. And the new age peeps are like, oh my God, God, God is demonic. It's a spirit. The house is haunted. It was none of that shit. It was being done by the local thug faction. And I didn't know how to deal with it. So I would be there putting spiritual energy into this stupid shit. I just had to unplug everything and wait for them to fizzle out. I had to do that. That's what I had to do. That's how I had to deal with that situation, because they were going to, fuse all the lights, blow all the lights with voltage fluctuation. You have to turn everything off and wait for them to calm the fuck down, because they're doing it in their ritual high time at believing that my panic caused by the blinking lights and the mouse going haywire and the files opening and closing themselves, that I'm going to go into terror. So I just had to shut everything down and wait. You know what I mean? I had to cut the internet connection because they were doing it via the internet. So if I cut the internet, then everything stops. So I didn't know how to deal with this. I didn't know how to deal with many of the situations in my life that I thought were demonic. For example, even now, they never give me a rental agreement, no matter where I go. They'll take the money for one and say we're going to sign it, but they won't sign it. Because they want to make it like I'm a kind of staying on the favors of some man rather than a respectable rent-paying tenant. They want to telecast it like it's that, like I don't have any rights here, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So I used to think this is demonic. How come everywhere I go, I get the same abuse? How come? How come the same things happen? I used to think this is all spiritual. It wasn't. It was targeted. And I only began to get a grip at, save my energy and actually solve certain problems, work around things, when I realized that I'm being consciously targeted. And it even went to the extent of, I didn't know I was being poisoned. I thought it was a spiritual thing. As soon as I realized that I'm being poisoned, because on these particular days, I suddenly fall ill. When I insult or question a particular person, next meal, stomach upset, diarrhea, 4 days, IBS and all of that. I had to stop eating the food cooked by that person to stop what I thought was IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and I thought I had it bad. I really thought I have a serious chronic condition. Then I find out I'm being poisoned. You know what I mean? You need to be able to know the difference between someone consciously targeting you in this realm versus spiritual attack. And if you don't know the difference, you'll even not recognize spiritual attack for what it is, because your mind is so clouded. You think demons give a shit about your computer or the phone. When someone attacks you spiritually, that's a different thing. They don't bother about this stuff. So you know what I mean? There can be some spillover, but when someone is spiritually or psychically attacking you, it's a different attack. In that attack, you feel like, sometimes you feel that you're actually dead. These are all different levels of black magic and psychic attack. Spiritual attack is when suddenly you start intensely hating yourself and you don't know why. You just hate yourself. You feel gross. You go in front of the mirror and like, yuck. That is spiritual attack. You need to know what is what so that you can deal with that. And sometimes these spiritual attack symptoms, they can be triggered by drugs, and that's basically poisoning. And I'm telling you, you can be like world's greatest chemist and know which new drugs they're using and cause new effects. The thing you have is your instinct, and your instinct requires you to know the truth. Because if you're moving in truth, if you know that, yeah, there's the chance of me being consciously targeted in this realm, there's the spiritual aspect. When you have that opening, then your instinct will show you, okay, this happened. I knew this person. After she found out, she got the idea that she might be consciously targeted, she realized that one of the things that happened every time before she had what she called almost like a nervous breakdown. I think panic attack is what it would be called in these days, panic attack. It was always about half an hour after she went to a particular cafe. In the 2000s, it was not that expensive for people to go to cafes every day after work. Know what I mean? Nowadays things are very expensive and there's a lot of tension in public places, but things were different then. And she was very relaxed and enjoyed that atmosphere in music and everything. She, it never occurred to her that there might be anything about that she should think twice about. And then she finds that the panic attacks are always about half an hour, like when she reaches home after being there. And she realized that it must be that there is something being put in her. I think she ordered coffee or iced tea. I think iced tea was her thing. Yeah, peach flavored iced tea was her thing. And every time she would go back home after having that, she would have like a panic attack, wouldn't be able to do anything, wouldn't be able to have a bath and freshen up and enjoy the evening, do the house work that she had to do. Everything would just stop, and she would wake up the next morning and not, just be in such a bad state, barely get to work again, that sort of thing. So what I'm saying, when she realized that that's most probably what it was, by instinct she said, okay, I knew it must be that. So she stopped going to that cafe, and if she went, she would not buy or eat anything. She would just hang with her friends, and she would buy bottled water and bottled stuff from outside and then she would go there like only to sit with her friends. And she said that was it. It was like maybe I think it was many days before she next realized that she was getting poison from another place. And then it wasn't a surprise to her, because she knew that whoever had been targeting her and using the first place, that they were now using the other place. And she just brought her self-esteem, Ed, back from the grave. Self-esteem. Because when you have a problem you can't solve, it breaks your confidence. And this is how Thug World breaks humans. They'll give you a skin disease you can't solve. And you think, oh, it's a spiritual problem. You must just be getting poisoned. Ed, for years, Ed, I used to wonder what the hell used to happen. Because for I think, Ed, it's been more than 20 or 25 years, Ed. I've been making whatever cream I put on my face, I would make at home. Just very basic stuff. Aloe vera gel. I'd put in one or two herbal tinctures or some extract of some herb oil that I make. I would just mix it, put it in a little tub and use it. And it would affect me so well for 2 days or 3 days. And then Ed, 4th day, my face would be burnt suddenly. I was like, what? And Ed, this happened to me from the time I started making these creams, Ed, which was about 2002, 2003. And I used to wonder what's happening, And it really broke my confidence, because I was like, this just doesn't make sense. How can something I made at home, and which is, you know, it's not spoilable, it's not spoiled. I can smell it's not gone rancid or spoiled. I'm very careful with stuff like that. How did this happen? And you know, when I understood what was happening, this happened at 2003 when I was with one hostage holder, and then I escaped, and then I was with another one at 2011 on. 2018, that guy dies. Okay? He dies. In front of me, by the way. They were staging the COVID stuff. So he dies, Ed. And after he dies, Ed, I made a cream because I kept consistently trying again and again. So I made a cream. And Ed, 2 weeks later, I was writing this to you online. For the first time in so many years, a cream consistently worked good for more than 4 or 5 days, and it was going into 2 weeks. And that's when I realized, all these years, that bastard who used to help me when I was making the creams, who used to help me in my herbal business, that bastard, after 4 or 5 days of me using a cream and being delighted with its effects, he would put a chemical in that would then burn my face the 5th or 6th time. It wasn't him only, it was the previous hostage taker as well. Consistently the same pattern was repeated. And I was thinking, this is some demonic thing. And it was not anything demonic, it was just poisoning. I began to think my skin is affected by some demonic, power. I mean, it broke my confidence, Ed. My face, has been burnt. It broke my confidence. I was like, how? What am I doing wrong? How can this happen? And Ed, after that, no cream I ever made. I didn't even really have to anymore, because then finally I started doing urine therapy again. But I never had that problem so long as nobody had access into my house. You know what I mean? Oh my God, what a thing it was. So what I'm saying, Ed, is that this wall has to be climbed of believing that you're not being targeted. And I want to tell you something, Ed, something that really helped me cross this wall. And unfortunately, I didn't save it, but it was something that someone had written online. And this person said, do you know how intricate the mechanism is that runs a suspension bridge? A suspension bridge, Ed, is a metal bridge over a river that lifts up to allow big ships passage. And then after the ship has passed, the bridge is lowered back down over the river. There's one over the river Thames. I think they lost the key to it or something like that. But do you know how much engineering goes into, how intricate the engineering is for that? Do you know, to build a dam to withstand that water pressure, how much intricate information and calculations are required? It's a lot. Ed, if they have developed that level of intricacy, of knowledge, of applying knowledge, to do that, and that level of knowledge in so many other fields as well. Just imagine how highly developed their network is in the field of social engineering. The oldest form of technology, the oldest form of their application of their brains, which they do even as children now without anyone particularly teaching them. It comes naturally to them. Just imagine how highly developed. Let me tell you, Ed, they have every person with a soul and every soulless person with high levels of energy got by hanging out with humans. They have them all recorded. They have them all stocked from conception. Their level of record keeping is very high. Very, very high. And they have got your records. They have got all the information about every human. And Ed, they don't do all that for nothing. Every human, Ed, is a project, and they have hundreds of fakes, if not thousands, following, stalking every human being. They have networks to do psychic attack call centers, Ed, of people trained. This is the fact. I will speak more about it later. This has gotten long, but I hope that I have conveyed how important it is. You know when you hit the truth because of how your energy flows. So if you think, you look at, am I being consciously targeted? And you look at your life from that point of view. If you find energy flowing, and if you find things are clicking into place in your subconscious and you're getting clarity, then you've hit the truth. And I have no doubt whatsoever that everyone with a soul, I know this because I have lived with the ritual doers. I know what kind of networks and all of that they have. I know it. And I know, and I have witnessed how people's energy is released for the first time in their lives when they face the reality.